I had no idea the British press was so bigoted.
This one's wife. Never pregnant? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There is often speculation about the lives of famous people. Sometimes this is done because people are driven by envy. Sometimes it's because famous people are deemed to be public property, and when they seek to be private, certain people don't like that, and it causes them to speculate, often unpleasantly, about the life and behaviour of the famous person. In other instances, the behaviour of the famous person causes questions to be asked about what they've done. In some instances, the famous person should be accountable as a consequence of the fact that they hold a position of trust or power. In relation to this one's wife, there are many questions about her behaviours, and perhaps one which is the most pressing has been, did you give birth to Archie and Lilibet? Now, it isn't the case that people just thought, do you know what? I don't like this one's wife, so I'm now going to create a speculative suggestion that she didn't give birth to her children because I've nothing better to do. Whilst the Sugars might suggest that is the behaviour of those that criticise this one's wife, the fact is that the behaviour of this one's wife, and also Harry, caused people to think something's not quite right here. Not driven by racism, not driven by misogyny, but rather, that doesn't stack up for me. The manner in which the births were announced, the discrepancies that took place in respect of the version of events, the commentary from Spare, which didn't add up, the absence of this one's wife having any pregnancy stories, the fact that this one's wife appeared to many commentators to be faking pregnancy, utilising with what has commonly been called a moon bump. Supposed evidence of the moon bump dropping in Birkenhead. Supposed evidence of it folding in and making a popping sound when she was at the Wayfarer organisation, bending down to pet a dog. There are plenty of other instances, I'm sure, that you can point to, which has resulted in many people questioning whether she was actually pregnant, leading some to conclude that the children don't actually exist, or, more likely, surrogates were used. Ordinarily, the issue of surrogacy isn't a problem. There are plenty of people who use surrogates, including famous people, for instance, Hilaria Baldwin. Nevertheless, they admit to that, and there may be health reasons associated with it, problems perhaps in relation to conception, etc., which have caused people to go down that route, and people don't blink an eye at it. But as you know, in respect of this one's wife, it raises a complication. For Archie and Lilibet to be in the line of succession, they have to be birthed of her body, and if they have not, then they can't be in the line of succession, which of course is problematic to a status-obsessed narcissist. Thus, this has created in the minds of many a motivation for this one's wife to make it seem as if she gave birth even if she did not. Ordinarily, if she had used surrogates and admitted to doing so, people would have said, okay, fair enough. You were getting quite old, there might have been difficulties in conceiving, and accordingly, yeah, we understand why you've used a surrogate. Others might have said, well, we are given to believe that she had a hysterectomy when she was in her 20s, and therefore she can't give birth. And if she wants children, then fair enough. Either adopt or use a surrogate. It's understandable. But naturally, people don't like to be deceived, and those who are royalists don't also like the idea that two children have been included in the line of succession when they ought not to be if she didn't actually give birth to them. It isn't a slight as against the children. The vast majority of people feel sorry for the children having a mother such as this one's wife, given the fact that she is a narcissist in the way that she behaves. Their concern is that she has lied. Accordingly, a small industry has cropped up in relation to people speculating about whether she gave birth. In some respects, people ought to have moved on beyond it, because ultimately the children were born 4 and 6 years ago. And therefore, you might state, well, queries were raised at the time of pregnancies, queries were raised after the birth. However, it is because this one's wife and Harry allude to instances with the birth, for instance, in Harry's book Spare, that it resurrects people questioning whether there was actually a pregnancy. And this one's wife has gone and done it again. You will have seen, and I showed it in an earlier video, the video that she recorded when she was purportedly giving birth. And this has led to renewed speculation about whether she was actually pregnant with Lilibet, with many people justifiably concluding that she was not. And that in fact, this one's wife has scored a spectacular own goal by releasing this video, which provides several pointers which suggest she was not pregnant. My sister-in-law is a nurse, and I have a friend who's a midwife. And I've spoken to both and had asked them to speak with their colleagues who had also seen the video to provide me with observations alongside my own as to what they thought as to whether this showed a woman who was pregnant. The unanimous view from those individuals was this does not show a pregnant woman. The reasons are numerous. First of all, the bump is lumpy and appears weightless in the way that it is moving. It also, in the video, moves independently of this one's wife's body, suggesting that it isn't actually part of her. Many commented that the bump ought to be a different shape at this point in the pregnancy because the baby would be engaged to move to the birth canal. It would have dropped down, which changes the shape of the bump. And yet, this one's wife's bump hasn't lowered, doesn't show a child that is engaged. The bump simply would not bounce or jiggle in the manner that it does in the video at this stage of the pregnancy. It was pointed out that if this bump was genuine, then she would have breasts like Zeppelin balloons, great big norks. She has not. She also claimed to have preeclampsia concerns. There is nothing in this video that supports an individual purportedly with preeclampsia, which either means she lied about preeclampsia or she wasn't pregnant. She was supposedly placed on bed rest. Well, if you're dancing around in the way that she is, you're clearly not on bed rest. Hers was a geriatric pregnancy owing to her age, yet nothing in this video supports that that's what she's doing. A woman that heavily pregnant, even if particularly fit, would not be wanting to dance, nor would she necessarily be capable of doing so in the manner which we have seen in the video. A pregnant woman's joints ache as a consequence of swelling in the increased weight. She would have backache. They wouldn't have the energy to behave this way. They simply couldn't be bothered with it. Why isn't she wearing a hospital gown? It's possible that she's some la-di-da private hospital where she can wear her own clothing. Why is she still wearing jewellery? Why hasn't that been removed? Ordinarily, it would be for a variety of different reasons. She would presumably be experiencing backache, but she's not moving like her back is aching. She adopts a straight posture instead of leaning back to offset her changed centre of gravity. She can push the bump upwards so it points. You would not be able to do that with your bump at this stage of the pregnancy. Why isn't she on monitors? Ordinarily, you're wired up to measure, for instance, the baby's heart rate. Yet she isn't. It looks like there's something underneath the clothing which quite possibly might be some form of monitor, but it's not linked up to anything. Might it be cordless? Well, I've never heard of a cordless monitor, but I suppose it's a possibility. It might be, for instance, that what's happened here is that this one's wife wants to have the experience of going through pregnancy by having a monitor, by having a pretend bump, whilst a surrogate next door is giving birth. And after all, this is California, so they would likely say, yeah, we'll let you play pregnant, play giving birth, in order to feel that you're bonding with the experience. After all, there are some rather cuckoo ideas that go on in California. She appears to have a cannula, but again, this might just be part of the role-playing, the live-action role-playing of giving birth. But the fact is that the way that she is behaving, the condition of the bump, many people who are experienced in these matters and therefore in a position to offer opinion have concluded this doesn't show a pregnant woman, and that it is conclusive in that regard. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.